Look for trades real quick. That's what we got here. Actually, we don't need to right now. Oh man, looks like this one would have been a good entry for a Asia entry right here. Full TP on this one. Let me refresh this real quick. All right, so full TP on this. Looks like this would hit a full TP too. Or not yet, actually. Let's see. Looks like it would have hit TP1. Yeah, it would have hit TP1 right there. On the way to full TP if we took this Asia entry. Let's see, where does this connect to? Midnight is right over here. This would be London. Anyways, I'm gonna go and look through the watch list right now. It's almost 6, so gonna have to look through here. Jeff. Possible long position right there. That marked up GN. Possible long position right there too. Pips. Damn, can't we hit full TP on that one? All right, let me check this real quick. All right, 550. Got these lined up right here. I'm gonna go down the list real quick, see if there are any entries. CD, nothing there. Nothing there. Cat CHF, something maybe. CHF, JPY. EJ, EN, EU, GA, GCAD, GC, GJ. Oh, I should have called this last late entry. This might be good actually. Go down the JPY pairs. Yeah, we've got 3 JPY pairs running though. It's kind of risky. Technically 3. We do have news coming up. CHF, the RBA rate statement, cash rate. Shouldn't really affect the market too much. Everything looks fine though. Zones right here. Not necessarily. Hey guys, how's it going? It looks like there's a couple people here watching the mentoring session. I'm just hanging out right now, guys. So if you guys have any questions, I can answer them before Donnie shows up. So I have this mentoring session with Johnny today. It's his first session with me. So if you guys want to sit in and watch, you guys are more than welcome. If you guys have any questions about anything, just put it in the chat, and then I can answer your questions before we get started. Otherwise, once we get started, this is going to be a one-on-one with Donnie. So you guys can sit in and see how I mentor Donnie, who's a brand new student. And if you guys are interested, it's open to the public. So yeah, feel free to hang out, guys. Right now, I'm just looking at any possible entries. The 4-hour candle is closing in about 9 minutes. So we've got some time to look at these pairs. There's not really many entries that are available right now. We have a couple that are available right here for CAD CHF. If it breaks above this zone right here, then we would anticipate this to push up to this next zone. Same situation with GN over here. If this closes above this zone right here, then we can anticipate a push up to this next zone right here. So those are the only trades that I see, possibly available within the next candle close. On top of that, we have news coming up in about an hour and a half for AUD. This generally could have a high impact on the market, but we don't really know until it actually happens. So we're probably going to hold off on those. This might be affected GN because the NZD is affected by the AUD, but CAD CHF might be okay. So we'll see. The market's been pretty slow today, guys. Just remember that it's Monday. So don't force any trades if there isn't anything required. I kind of forced the USD CHF earlier this morning, and it didn't play as well as we wanted it to. But hopefully you guys got out at TP1 if you guys did take that trade. I'll probably scan through the charts right before the candle closes and then see if there's anything here. But it doesn't really look like there's any available entries right now, as the market's just been moving super slow this whole day. So I'll just keep scanning through and see if there's anything worth taking, but it doesn't seem like there's really much available right now. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. There might be a late entry here for EA as well. Since price, well, I'd probably wait for this to close below. So this might close below here, and then it might close above from here. And then if that happens, it might shoot even higher. So this might be another entry as well. However, it's an AUD pair. So we do have news coming up in about an hour and a half, like I mentioned earlier, which could affect this pair directly. So I might hold off on that one. But other than that, it looks pretty slow tonight, which this isn't unusual. Just just to keep in mind, in case you guys are wondering if this is normal or not. This is pretty normal for a Monday. Let's see. Yeah, nothing else available right here. Yes, if you guys want to sit tight, Donnie's about to enter the room shortly. He says he's getting his computer ready. So once he's on his computer, he'll hop on. And then basically, if you guys aren't familiar with how the K2 course works, this is the K2 course right here. Everything's pretty much broken down, from introduction to, all the basics, the foundations that you really need, the trend line, support and resistance, and the K2 indicators. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through these in order. I'm basically going to ask Donnie if he needs help with anything. And if he doesn't need help with any of these specific things, we're just going to move on to the next one. And the main mentorship really begins once we start the actual strategies, because that's where he's going to master the strategies I've created and understand how to apply these, exactly how I do. But yeah, guys, if you guys want to sign up for this, I mean, we do have the free intro course where you can have the entire course. You just won't have access to the indicators and the premium groups. And that's available on our website if you guys are new here. Because I know I do see that we have a ton of new subscribers. So yeah, if you guys want to learn more, feel free to just go on the website, K2trades.com. Let me go real quick. And pretty much everything is pretty much explained there. So you could go here, unlock your free access, and sign up to the free course. Let's see. All right, so waiting for Donnie. He said he's on his way. Let's see if anyone else is here. It's probably a scammer. And I hate when these scammers join the our groups or free groups. He joined our group, my group, and Aaron's group. All right, cool. All right, looks like this candle is about to close in 3 minutes. So let me just go through the ones that I marked up. So I marked up CAD CHF. It doesn't look like it's going to close above this zone right here. So if it doesn't close above this zone, there is going to be no entry. Next up is Euro Odd. I'm probably not going to take this one because we have the AUD news coming up in about an hour and a half. Next position is the GN right here. This might close above it, but like I mentioned, we do have news coming up in a few minutes or an hour and a half. So we probably won't enter this trade because we don't want to get caught in any reversal. So it doesn't look like we're going to have any trades, guys, for this 6 p.m. candle close, but we might have something for the next one. So just sit tight, guys, and don't force any trades. Be patient and just wait for the perfect entry to appear, because we don't really know what is going to happen with the news coming up. All right, cool. So let me check this out real quick to make sure I have everything set up. Let's go through. And I haven't been through the course in a long time, but pretty much covers everything here. Let's see what I have to update. There's probably a couple of things that I have to update on here. Yeah, probably. I got to include the results for July, June, July, August, September, October. I got like 3 months to upload on here, which isn't, it's not a big deal because we already have it on. All right, cool. Donnie just entered the room. Hey, Donnie, how's it going? Can you hear me? Cool. Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure that the microphone's working. All right, guys, this candle's about to close in about 30 seconds. So I'm gonna scan through here real quick to make sure these entries aren't available. Doesn't look like that's gonna close above in 20 seconds. So we're gonna skip that. Euro Odd right here, we're gonna skip that as well. And GN doesn't look like it's gonna close above there in 13 seconds either. Hey Don, just to let you know, this is on it's on live too, so I'm not talking to myself. There's like a couple people watching the just sitting in on your your mentoring session. So it's on YouTube as well. So if you ever want to go back and, rewatch this later on, it'll be available to you. So it's just live streaming right now while we're going over stuff. And I'm just looking at trades for this next candle close, but it doesn't look like there's anything really worth taking right now. Yeah, CAD CHF didn't close above it, guys, so no entry. GN right here also didn't close above it, so no entry for that as well. I'll keep these marked up because the next candle close might provide an entry if it closes above here, and then we'll be anticipating that to shoot above to TP. But we'll see how the news plays out because we do have news coming up in about an hour and a half. Yeah, because the RBA rate statement is probably going to affect the market depending on how high or how low the rate is, and then the cash rate following that as well. Yeah, looks good so far. Let's look at our other positions. We still have odd CHF running right here, still active, hasn't hit TP yet, so still have that running. Odd JPY right here looks like it's gonna swing back up. Our CAD JPY, same situation right here. It triggered, pulled back a little bit, rejected off this zone right here, and it's probably gonna shoot right back up. GU right here has been just going sideways for the most part, but hopefully it shoots up and hits full TP at some point. Donnie, I can't hear you. Let me see. Yeah, I can't hear you. I got my volume up. Just make sure you're, I think one thing with Zoom is sometimes it connects to one of your other mics. So depending on which mic you have connected, I can kind of hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah. How's it going?
Good.
Nice. Good to hear. All right, cool. So I'm done looking at the chart for this, specific period. So we can get started now, Donnie. Let's see. So basically first, I want to see if you have any questions. Do you have anything specific that you want to cover before we go over, through the course? Hey, Donnie, I can't hear you anymore. I'm not sure if you muted yourself or...
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. You're good now.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I got a few questions, but I feel like you'll answer them indirectly, like as you go along through the course. So I'll just hold off and just wait till you're done.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, perfect. So we can start from like top to bottom. I'm not sure how much experience you have, currently. So I'll just pretty much go through everything step by step. So have you gone through the introduction to Forex module already?
Yeah, I went through it. I'm actually at the 37% mark. And as far as like my experience with Forex, I don't want to sound, I say this with the utmost humility that I'm very familiar with it, I should say it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so majority of the stuff like that in the beginning, I already knew, but I still went through the emotions to make sure that if there's anything I missed, that it's covered. So, but yeah, as far as like, I should say my trading experience, it's going on, I want to say about 2 years now. And how do I sum it up in a nutshell? I already know a lot of at this point, I should say, as long as I've been trading, I'm pretty well aware of a lot of my areas of opportunity, I will say. And it's just, at this point, it's just more the mentality portion of like being more consistent at overcoming those things. Like, I know one of my biggest habits that I have, and I hate, and it makes me want to punch the wall, is that when you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good.
I have a habit of like when I'm in drawdown and I'm in drawdown a little longer than I thought, I get a little apprehensive and start getting insecure. You know what I'm saying?
You start pulling out trades a little too early, right?
Yes. So, and then when I check on it later on, like on TradingView, it'll hit. I'm like, oh, mother effer. Especially like, I remember there's one, which one was it? It was when GJ had a real big bull run. And I was like, crap, I thought I had like a perfect entry. And I was like, I checked, all my confirmations. I'm like, man, this looks solid. And then I was like, nah, I'm probably wrong about this one. And I hate, sometimes I hate leaving trades open overnight. Now I don't mind, but at that time I did. And I was like, I don't want to fall asleep and then wake up and then, I hit stop loss. So I was like, I'll just close it out, negative, like just like 1 or 2 pips and just rethink it the next morning. And then the very next morning, it blasted through exactly where I would expect it to. And it was like a 4-to-1 risk reward, and I was like, oh wow, I
Oh
missed
man.
it so much. And that was my first time doing FTMO too, which is why like it really hurt, you know.
Oh no, I feel you. Yeah, you know the thing with that is usually occurs if you're not too confident with your strategy. Like if you know the strategy works and you trust it, then it allows you to just trust it, you know, and let it do what it's supposed to do. But the thing was with a lot of other traders, they like I'm assuming you were trading like price action or what kind of strategy were you applying? Do you have any specific one that you had in
Yeah.
mind?
So I have two, but the one I use primarily the most is just entering on the MACD. So basically, simple just MACD crossings. I just use the same. I can use a default, but the settings that I found that are most comfortable is like I'll look on M15, enter on M15, confirm on the hourly chart, and just basically when it's crossing, then I would enter. But I would what's the word before? I always follow the trend, and I would use my 200 EMA and just buy when it's above and sell when it's below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. As far as like anything else, I'd always make sure like when you were going over your support and resistance, I was like, perfect. That's exactly how I feel too. Like when it's like within, when it's within like 10 pips of support or resistance, I usually stay away from it, kind of sort of,
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so I'm like that. I'm like that's perfect. I already made that one of my, I said golden rules, I guess you could say. But that's pretty much how what's been working for me on GJ and GJ, EJ, and yeah, that for the most part. I've been getting a little familiar with gold now. I've been trying to master gold because I have a friend that's like a guru at it. But I'm not. I think I'm much better at it now. But it's more of a scalping, and I'm not really into scalping. Plus, I don't have the luxury since I work, at a bank. So I'm old where I work at my bank. As you already know, it's 9 to 5, same times as U.S. sessions. So I don't have the
Oh yeah.
luxury. Yeah, I don't have the luxury to reach my phone that often anymore. In the past, I did like any 10 seconds I could, but now that as Corona's kind of like inconvenienced the banks, they want us to be more productive to justify us being there. Make sense?
Exactly. No, I get
So,
you 100%.
yes, that's pretty. That's honestly crippled my trading a lot because now I go from like intraday trading to basically swinging.
Yeah, and it's
Just
totally different. It's way different if you're a normal scalper, because that's how I used to be. I was a scalper for a long time, and going from scalping to even intraday is kind of hard because it works on your patience because you just want to hit those profits right away within like next couple minutes, next couple hours, et cetera, and then you go from hitting those profits right there into like waiting an entire day for you to hit profits, and it just weighs on your emotions basically if you keep looking at it.
exactly, and that's actually what I've taught myself to do is it's like now I would just like put it on TradingView, just put my short or long positions on TradingView and just look at it there. And honestly, I would come to the point where I would open MetaTrader and I would just bash the graph tab and just stay away from seeing the dollars go up and down. Because if I see flaming red, I'll start getting insecure. But if I see it on the graph, it never bothers me. I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. But as soon as I see the dollars rolling and if it's like flaming red, then I'm like, and it's not all the time, it's like 50% of the time that I feel a little insecure and second guess.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. That's why I never look at my profits. Whenever I take a trade, I just set my alerts to, TP1, TP2, full TP, etc. And then if I get, an alert that says, we hit TP1, that's when I open it up. I'm like, all right, I'll move my stop loss to, this specific area to guarantee profits instead of, looking at your phone all day or looking at your chart all day, like seeing it inch up and down, back and forth, especially right now with, COVID,
Yeah.
price is just all over the place. So you'll go from like deep profit to like drawdown back to deep profit and then let's go sideways and you don't even know what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see. So I'll go down the course and I'll see. So you basically don't need to go over any of these like introduction to forex because this is pretty much self-explanatory. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
you already know what pips, lot size, order type, stuff like that, trading
Yeah.
sessions, etc. Okay, cool. So I'm sure you're familiar with the trading view tools, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we don't need to go over that. You know about trend lines, you know how to draw your own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. No support resistance. You need to cover that.
That's like the first thing I learned ever in life.
Okay, yeah, no, definitely. Perfect. Let's see. All right. So you already know how to set up all the indicators and stuff on TradingView, right? Like you don't have any problem setting everything up.
Yeah, I actually got presets. I have one because when I got down to the pivots, I was like, "Oh, this is I like the way the pivots worked on some pairs. Like I like the way pivots work on gold because that kind of coincides with my gold strategy basically. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I have a preset for the pivots, and also have a preset for the momentum and which one was it? I forgot the other one's called. Oh, support resistance 1 and 2. So I have them all like categorized, like Shawn 1, Shawn 2, just depending on the pair I'm looking at.
Nice, perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what you need to do. And just with practice, you're gonna figure out what you like most, because all these strategies kind of line up with each other. Like sometimes you'll see an entry using the intraday strategy, and you'll see that it lines up perfectly with the momentum strategy. And then similarly with the pivot strategy as well and the SR strategy, they all kind of have the same entry sometimes, because most of the entries are based off momentum. So if you have a momentum signal, it's generally going to be based off that same entry or something kind of similar to it. So yeah, it's just going to come with practice. We'll go over all the strategies, and then we'll see exactly what fits you best, and what time frames you like to trade on. Because then once we figure out what your trading style is and how you want to trade, then we can cater towards exactly how you want to trade, and then we can figure out how you want to do it. Because there's a ton of different ways to trade. And one thing that I always tell people is to find out what you like to do. Don't try to like copy what everyone else is doing because it works for them, because that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, because your emotions run differently, your risk appetite runs differently. It's totally different for every person. So let's see, should we get started with like the intraday strategy, or is that something that you don't normally use?
No, yeah, let's get started. I'll tell you the two concerns I was like curious about with it. So, and it's because and so made me want to write them down on paper a little bit, is because I feel like I was starting to get the rules of each strategy, they were starting to blend together.
Exactly. And that's what happens with a lot of people. They'll ask me about the SR strategy, and I'm like, oh, those requirements are totally different from the intraday strategy, because for some of them we use the trend meter, for some of them we don't.
Exactly. And that was actually gonna be my question, because that's why I started feeling I noticed it when I got to the pivots, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I shouldn't watch all these videos like in a row, like back to back without really absorbing it properly, because a lot of these rules don't coincide with each other, and it's obvious because they're for different reasons, different pairs, and different purposes. So I was like, okay, crap, let me go back to the drawing board a little bit, because I'm like, I didn't understand how the momentum indicator had to do with some of the strategies, but when I looked at the videos, it wasn't there, and I was like, oh, because it doesn't apply in this section,
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. And that's like one of the main things, that's why I always tell people to go in order and like just focus on one strategy per week or every couple of days, because then you want to make sure you master one, or you actually understand it before you move on to the next one. Because then at that point, you kind of start getting confused with, what's required and what's not. And the thing is, all of the indicators can be used together for extra confirmation, but there's always going to be foundation indicators that are used for specific strategies. So yeah, exactly. So if we're going over like the intraday strategy, it only requires 2 indicators, which is the momentum indicator and the trend meter. So let's see, do you have a specific pair that you like to trade?
Yeah, I like GJ. If you want, can I share my screen so I can show you exactly what I was thinking?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Let me pull you up right here. All right. All right, I think you could share your screen now if you want to switch it up. So let me just
okay, perfect. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Do you have the button there, right, to share the screen?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. You're good. Were you able to share your screen? There should be a share screen button right there on the little bar.
No, I know. You heard me. Okay. So share my screen. All right, you can see it.
Perfect. Yeah, I can see it. It's just it's a blank screen right now. I'm not sure if you. Oh, okay, I see it. You're good.
Okay, perfect. So this is how I have it set up, and as you see, I put it there so that way, like I can just like flip through, just makes life a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. But this is pretty much how I had it set up right here. I just had like it worked well for me so far since I've been in K2, just having it set up like this. Now, one of the things I was like concerned is, and I want to make sure you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'll just tell you how I absorbed it, and you can just fill in the gaps for me if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So let's say, for example, like we're on the hourly now. All right, let's switch switch that really quick. So let's say, for example, like right over here. Let's take it back right over here. So once we go right here, and we already know it's in resistance, right? So this is about, let's see here. Okay, so that's good. That's a little too off. So let's press play, and then let's see that candle develop. Then so I can start there. Which is another thing. I was like, when I set the alerts to, for TradingView to alert me, it's like it'll alert me when the candle's painted, and I was like, crap. Like, why can't it alert me when the candle closes? Yeah.
So if you want to change that, you would just change it to once per bar. The thing is, you'll probably get a ton of alerts if you're following a lot of pairs. So that's why you don't mind it. Yeah, because it's kind of better to have that head start. You get that alert, and you're like, all right, I can pull up my chart and I can see if it's going to come or not. Okay. But some people don't like it. Like I would have it where it's once per bar, and because I'm just like, I'm waiting for the trade to come. But if you want to have it where you get it kind of late, then you'd have it once per bar close.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that. Like if it floods my phone, so be it. As long as I don't miss out. So exactly. Like, all right. So let's say, for example, like this guy, right? So where are my shortcuts? Okay, there they are. So oh, sorry, just kidding. So bar close like right around right here, right? So from what I'm gathering, do I have the option to do that the stop loss at the last swing low, or should I just leave it the way it is? Because like the way TradingView has it, like at 17 pips, for example, say, like rounding up.
Yeah, so you can do it either way. It depends on like how much your risk is. Because the thing is, if you put at the previous swing, it's going to be way too close. I think that so yeah, if you go to that higher swing right there, it's only about 5 pips. Or even if you pull down to the red one that's farther to the and that'd be a little too far. Let me see how many pips. That's about like 50 something pips. And if you're trading on the 30-minute, it's kind of a big push for you to reach for. So exactly. Yeah, so in some situations, what I would do is I would just so delete that profit loss, right, and then just zoom out of the chart. So if you go to the middle of the chart, down the middle, just hover over the middle, like right down the bottom. Yeah, it should be right there. So that that little arrow button right there on the right, right next to it, the down right there. So hit that reset chart, and then just use that same tool that you use, the long tool, and then place it again where you had it. And then right there, TradingView is going to calculate all of the charts, like all of the candles that are on the chart. So it identifies, yeah. So it gives you a better range right there. It's kind of far off still. Yeah, it's kind of far off still, but it gives you a more accurate swing, because it calculates the swing plus it adds the ATR to it, the average true range. So it gives you a little cushion like right below it.
It really takes all that into consideration. I did not know that.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't know. It's a little secret that I figured out when I started back testing a lot, because I was trying to figure out what the sweet spot was. And the problem was sometimes I would put it at the swing and it'd be too close. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I let TradingView do it for me, and it was perfect. Like sometimes price would come really close to my stop loss and then it would shoot straight up to full TP, like easily.
Oh, wow. I felt like I discovered a secret formula. All right. Did not know that.
Yeah. Okay. And it works good on the lower time frames, because on the lower time frames, it's like a lot harder for you to identify the trend plus ATR. I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, how other people use it, but generally, yeah, it gives you that cushion for the spread plus the swing as well. So you're not getting caught in like the little fake outs where it comes down to stop loss and then it shoots straight to your TP.
I was because my cousin's the one that actually, like, I should say, introduced me to like Forex, and he was telling me about. He was just making some adjustments to his strategy when Corona hit around like February-ish. Yeah. And what's helped him a lot is he was saying just using the ATR as a stop loss. I'm like, how do you do that? And when he explained it to me, I'm like, I don't know why, but it sounds like Chinese to me. I'm good. And I was like, I'm not really a fan of it per se. I'm like, I like when we kept it simple. Like when you were saying like the nearest swing low, that's exactly how I was taught, by him. Like, nearest swing low or swing high, for example's sake, because as long as we stay a little further away from resistance or support, we should be good. So, I mean, I'm glad that, TradingView doesn't work for me. But so what I was trying to make sure is like, so doing it this way, this is intraday, right? And I have my confirmation right here. I have my bullish confirmation, and I have momentum. So like, all right, cool, green light. The only thing that would make me apprehensive about this is how close it is to resistance, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And this is probably one that I wouldn't take because I think it's super close. What is it, like 2 or 3 pips away from the resistance?
Basically, 661. Yeah, it's about 10 on the dot.
Yeah, you could probably use that measuring tool. So they have that measuring tool right there on the right there, and then you can just figure it out real quick. Yeah, so it's like less than 10 pips, and that's kind of tough because you can see your spread's like 4.1. So in order for you to get into that in and out of the trade, you have to pay for the spread going into it and pay for the spread getting out. So you're literally going in for about 8 pip spread, and then you only have like a 2 pip cushion before it would likely, reject off the resistance. So I'd probably just avoid that specific trade.
And I figured as well. So I guess when I was just trying to figure out, it's like, but if let's just say for argument's sake, if it wasn't so close to resistance, then or even if we back it up a tad, and we swing it like right over here, for example's sake. Let me see. Let's rewind it actually. Let's just see how that guy closes. Okay. So this guy closed, where is he? Like right down there. So this looks pretty safe to me just because it was 681. Okay, perfect. Yeah, this looks pretty safe to jump in. So and I would figure the confirmation primarily because like I said, it's a little further away from the resistance line. Also, I'm above my 200 as well as I got the confirmation right here. And then even on the MACD, it's showing the bullish confirmation with the crossing. So I was like, oh, cool. So I feel comfortable with this. But just for the what's the word I'm looking for? Just for confirmation from you, would this be accurate? Like, did I enter at a not want to say perfect, but more of an ideal spot?
It would be an ideal, but if you look on the bottom, there was news during that time. So there's medium
news.
You're
right. I didn't even know this.
Yeah, so I would have, and that's a service PPI. That's kind of it does affect the market. So if I did see that down there, I would have avoided it, just for that specific reason. Because I don't. For me specifically, I like to be very careful with my trades because I like quality trades. I only take trades if I know they're almost guaranteed going to hit at least like TP1, TP2 before swinging back, so I can lock in some profits. And generally, if there's news like that, it could go either way. Like so if we go forward, you can probably see that price look like it was going to go up because you can see right there also that everything lines up pretty perfectly. You have the K2 entry plus it lines up with your MACD, but then price ends up, going sideways for a bit before dropping. Because sometimes news has a later effect on the market. It'll be released at a specific time, but then a lot of people just sit it out to see how the market reacts, and then they make moves from there. So that's why I wouldn't take that until I saw some sort of reaction, because it looks like the reaction didn't happen until a little later. Because you can see exactly, because you can see how price kind of started pushing down, and then you can see where price kind of got manipulated right there. It got pushed up a little bit to like fake people out. It seems like basically when that news, because the thing is, you can see it was going sideways from that specific entry, right? Mm-hmm. So it was going sideways, and then it looks like the market makers or institutions started to push price a little down to fake people out, and then they spike it back up because they want to confuse people, and then as soon as they find the sentiment, so if there's a lot of people that are buying or a lot of people selling, they'll go the opposite direction and then they'll spike it in the other direction. So I'm not sure, do you know how to look at sentiment?
Not yet.
Okay, cool. So if you go to you can just Google IG sentiment GBP JPY.
Oh, yes. Okay, my cousin showed me that. Yeah, I'll go to it now. You said, what is it?
You could just Google IG sentiment. Yeah, IG sentiment, and then you put GBP JPY. And then you can pull it up from, I think it's that first one, or you can click on any of them. They're all the same. But yeah, so this would be like an extra confirmation. I usually just use this if there's news coming up, because this is kind of a way for you to identify where people are trading, obviously. And obviously you don't want to trade where everyone else is trading. So you can see right here, it's 50%. So it's kind of just going sideways. And it looks like it's been going that way, for the past couple of days, just looking at the daily chart right there. Yeah. It's pretty much just consolidating.
That is very, very true. I was annoyed. I was like, well, looks like today's going to suck. Boring old Monday.
And the thing is with the JPY pairs, it's mostly because of the COVID news. We have the, I think the Moderna or something, they filed for the FDA for their emergency use for the COVID vaccine. So I think that's why people are just sitting out of the market, because they're waiting for it to be either approved or denied. Because once that happens, people will probably either buy or sell specific pairs that are related to COVID. Since the yen is a safe haven currency, that'll be directly affected with COVID, because obviously if the vaccine comes out, then the JPY is going to lose strength. If the opposite happens, then JPY will gain strength. So I feel like a lot of people are just playing it safe and sitting out of the market until there's some certainty as to what's going to happen with the vaccine and whatnot.
Okay, I see what you mean. And if like even do you know if they're trying to come up with a vaccine in Asia, or are you speaking about like Pfizer coming out with a vaccine and giving it to them?
I think the one that was filed today was by Moderna. So it's a US company. It's just for US hospitals for like emergency use. So if someone's like almost going to die, then they'll give him the vaccine, but it's not going to be wide distribution just yet. I think the wide distribution is probably going to come out maybe sometime next month, if not January.
Okay. But okay, well, aside from that though, but if it wasn't for like that news, like I said, that probably would have been more of an ideal situation.
Exactly, yeah. Because the news just causes uncertainty. So the thing is, you don't want to enter the market when there's uncertainty, because it could literally go either way for you, and you don't want to get caught on the wrong side, because you could get lucky and it could go your way, or you could get you could be unlucky and it could go the opposite way as well.
Yeah, you're right about that. Trust me, I'm a big victim of news. I stay far away from it ever since.
Exactly. And it's funny because a lot of people don't realize how impactful the news is. So people usually just trade through the news, but it really does affect the market if it's something specific.
Okay, perfect. All right, so other than that guy, let's see, which module was I also curious about? Oh yeah, momentum pullback. Please explain it to me. I don't know why, but like maybe I'm getting it and I'm like not, and I'm like overthinking it. But can you explain it? I'll switch the screen right back with you. How do you do that?
Oh
again?
yeah. Oh yeah, no, definitely. Oh, you want me to come back on?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let me share my screen real quick. All right, cool. So here we are on my screen. So basically the momentum pullback is like, it's pretty much the same strategy, except you're looking for opposite things per se. So basically I'll use this as an example right here, because this looks like a good one. So basically the way that this works is, I'll put the requirements right here. And this doesn't have to be used on 30-minute, but I'm just going to show you on the 30-minute first, but it applies same way around. So basically, first, you want to identify a valid K2 signal. Second, you want to confirm K2 trend meter does not match. And then after that, you can enter on the open of the following candle. And for extra confirmation, you can use the K2srs like you were doing earlier, but it's not 100% necessary. It just depends if you want to be extra careful or not. So optional K2sr, just to make sure that it's not too close or too far. But so basically, I'll just show you the basics of it. So first, you want to identify a valid K2 signal. Right here, we have a valid sell signal, right? And down here, you just want to confirm that the trend meter doesn't match. So for the normal intraday strategy, you want both of them to match. You want a red signal with a red trend meter. But for the K2 momentum pullback strategy, you want to have a red signal and a green trend meter down here, because the thought process behind the strategy is that we're just identifying this, since the trend is going up, we're just identifying the signal as a pullback. It's not necessarily a momentum swing downwards. It's just a temporary pullback in this direction until it corrects right back up to the proper trend. Since the price is trending up on 4 different time frames, the trend's super strong. So once you have that set up, you have the valid K2 signal, and then you confirm that the trend meter doesn't match. You can do the same thing we did earlier. You can zoom out, place a long position at the high of this candle right there. And then from there, you can let it run. So let's see. I think this might be a little far off, but we'll let it run anyways. And then let's see how it plays out. So yeah, it ends up hitting full TP right there. And this is what I mean about the ATR being super accurate, because it literally gets to that same exact point before it drops down.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, and then just to confirm that, like you said, that signal is valid because of the indicator being on a bearish candle.
Yeah. So it'd be so in order for it to be a valid signal, it would have to be a green buy signal with a green bullish candle, and then vice versa for a valid sell signal, it would have to be a red sell signal with a red bearish candle. So basically, if it's red and red, it's valid. If it's green and green, it's valid. If it's green and red, like it's mixed right here, then this would
Yeah.
be invalid.
Okay, understandable.
Yeah. So
And
this is, yeah, it's pretty much the same strategy. And the funny thing about this too is that you could have an entry here for the momentum pullback, and then you could have an actual intraday entry right here as well, because you can see it's green and green.
yeah,
So you could technically have two entries right here. And this is what I meant about the strategies kind of linking together, because this entry is kind of pretty much the same entry with this, except you're getting in a little earlier because you're pretty much catching the momentum swing as it's moving up before the actual signal gets sent out right here.
true. True. Okay. And when it's I'm not sure if you noticed, but I have the momentum to be a different color only because it's just when I see green and blue in my brain, that still equals buy. Because at work, I look at I use FX Street to look at charts because our bank blocks off everything forex related. Apparently, we're not allowed to even talk about it, but it blocks off everything forex related. So the only websites I can go on that's not blocked is FX Street and Yahoo. And thank God they have the bare minimum, at least it's moving averages, so I could just look at that, you know.
Oh,
So
exactly.
when I see blue and green, I just see, buy. But so yeah, this sounds extremely simple enough to understand, nothing complicated. And the time frames, I guess, the part I want to make sure. So it doesn't matter if we enter on like, the 30 or the hourly, it just depends, preference.
Yeah, exactly. So, we're here on the 30. If you want to do an hourly, it's the same exact thing. You just switch to the hourly time frame, and then pretty much apply the same thing that you would do if you were doing the opposite. The only difference is that if you're trading on the hourly, then the K2srs are going to be a lot more important because you're not looking for like a quick move. Like you're looking for a bigger move. Like for this, if you were to take this buy right here, which would have reversed on you, this would have been like a 60 pip move, or a 100 pip move. So the uh, the rejection points are going to be really important on the higher time frame. So say if we were trading this right here, let me go ahead and I'll draw the zones right here, and then we'll go back to that same entry that we were just looking at.
Okay.
So pretty much right here, I'll draw this zone right there. I'll draw this zone right here. This lower one right here. All right, so we got these zones right here marked up. And now we'll go back to the 1 hour. And I'll hide this right here. Oops, let me fix this. All right, cool. So we're looking at, I think this was the entry right here that we were looking at. So same situation right here that we were, discussing earlier. Even though this would look like a good entry right here for, using the intraday strategy, it's like super close to this resistance right here. It's like 6 pips. So that's why we wouldn't have taken this one. However, if you wanted to apply the pullback strategy, you can do the same thing on the 1 hour. So it's the same thing. We identified a valid signal right here. We confirm that the trend meter doesn't match. So it's red and green. So since they don't match, we could identify this signal as a pullback signal instead of an actual valid entry. Because obviously, you don't want to trade in the opposite direction of the trend. So like right here, we would have an entry. We enter a long position at the high of this candle, and then we pretty much let it run. And then you can see right there that it went exactly to the TP, and then it pulled right back down.
Yeah.
So it's super on point. When you let the trading view do the actual measuring for you, it's like super on point. So for the most part, I usually use this. The only time I don't use it if it's too far, because sometimes the ATR will it'll calculate the movement from way down here, so that it'll give you like a 100 pip stop loss, and that's just way too wide for something on the 1 hour or the 30-minute.
Yeah, that'd be a little too wild too. Um, what's the other question I had? Is there any way to how to say this? Um, well, I guess you already answered it in one of the videos because I can't, I don't have, like I was just saying earlier, I don't have the luxury of moving my stop loss like as soon as it hits, like TP1 or something like that, or if like that's like 10 or 20 pips of profit. I mean, I could, but with the way the market is, it'll most likely pull back and then shoot right up and then hit full TP or out of it. But by
Yeah,
then I didn't reach my phone and re-enter. And I
exactly.
don't
It'll
know.
move like way too fast.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear you.
Okay, perfect. So what I was saying is, how do I mean, in your personal opinion, what should I do based on my lifestyle to make sure I maximize as much profits as possible because I don't have the luxury of moving my stop loss when it's 20 pips in profit. And then when it pulls back, I'm out and I'm good. I already made some profit. But next, it'll make a small reversal and just shoot right back up and full profit. And then, I left money on the table. What I
Exactly.
what I found out that's worked best for me is at least this is with your trades is just leaving it alone. And when I get to when I hit take profit two, then I'll move it at that point because if it's reversing at that point, it probably is like a legit reversal. But what's been working for me so far is I would move my stop loss after take profit two, and
Oh gosh,
then
yeah.
I'll jump back in at that point. You know.
Yeah, so depending on the position, so if it has if the stop loss is 100 pips, then I would move it when it reaches TP1, or TP2. But if it's something smaller where it's just like a 30 pip full TP or maybe a 40 pip, then you can do what you just mentioned where you can wait for it to hit TP2. Because the problem with it being too close and like how you mentioned, it'll come up, it'll hit your stop loss and profit, and then it'll shoot the full TP. So in that situation, if the range is too small, then I would just wait for it to hit, TP2 before you move it to like TP1 or even TP2 in that situation. But if the stop loss is really wide, then I always recommend to eliminate your risk. But if you're trading on the higher time frame, so one thing that you could do too is if you're trading on the higher time frame and using the K2sr strategy, since the strategy has been so accurate, like for the past 3-4 months, I did the math on it, and you can literally just let the trade run. You can just take the trade and then just pretty much forget about it and let it hit full TP or stop loss. Because even today during the live trading room, we went over the numbers, and I think if you took every trade in November, then you'd still be like well over 30% growth for your account. So like if you did the math on that, I'm not sure what your account's looking like, but say if you're trading like a $10,000 account, and then you're taking 3% per trade, and then you'd be making 300 per trade basically. So if we were to have 30% growth, and then you multiply that by 300 because each trade's going to be $300, then you would have locked in like 9,000 within, I guess, the last week, because we did it by week. So like for week 4 and week 3, like they were super high with our win rate. So just depending on what you want to apply, because if you want to apply these shorter on these shorter time frames, adjusting your stop loss is going to be like super important because obviously there's a lot more noise on the 1 hour and the 30 minute versus you trading on something like the 4 hour where you can kind of just set the trade and then just pretty much let it run for the most part. So,
And I did notice what you were saying is 1,000,000% true. Because when I first did my first FTMO, it was for the 10K. I got to like 10,000. I think it was 10,120. And I was like, oh, perfect. And it was a Friday. I was like, all right, perfect. And I was like, I'm just taking nothing but your trades. I think took a few of my GJ trades every now and then, and like maybe some gold and some down here and there. But for the most part, it was just pretty much just all your trades. And I was like, I'm not gonna touch it. I'm just gonna look at the trading view. I'm gonna look at my positioning on the trading view just to follow with you, and that's how I'm gonna see it. If it's in the green, perfect. It's in the red, oh well, I'll look. And I was very tight on my positioning size. Like that was like actually the first time I actually really focused on my positioning size because I know that's what blew up my accounts like all last year. And
mhm.
I got to that point, and so I was like, man, I got to like almost 9% in 12 days. So, oh, sorry, 8 days. I remember it was 8 days, and I was like, cool, 2 more days to go, and I'm out. And made a mistake. I forgot what pair it was. It was one pair you sent, and it was like literally like 2 pips away from hitting stop loss. I was like, oh, all right, whatever. Let me just close it and save myself $1 or two. And I put my phone down. And then when I went to lunch, it was like already at TP2. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, how did it move like from like damn near about to close out to just back in profit? And I was so pissed. It was just like downhill from there. It was just, closing too early, closing too early. And if I just left it alone, and not do that out of past the first portion. So fortunately for me, I missed the time frame, but I still ended in closed it in profit. And they were like, okay, well, we'll give you another chance, since you are negative. So I asked them, can I do a 25K? And they said, normally no. I emailed them and they said, normally no, but if I'd like, since I ended profit, I could just pay half that price and they'll bump me up to 25. But I have to start from scratch, obviously. So I've been trying to get prepared for that so I don't have to do it again, basically.
Nice. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and that's the difference between trading on the shorter time frames and trading on the higher time frames. Because the problem with trading on the shorter time frames are these are like momentum based strategies. So the thing is, the momentum is not always going to be there. It's going to be there for that specific time period, and you're going to have to adjust your stop loss, over and over, because you never know when it's going to turn on you. So that's why I recommend with your type of schedule, since you still work the 9 to 5, I would recommend just trading on the 4 hour, because the 4 hour closes at the specific times every single day. So you know exactly when you're going to trade. And you don't have to really worry about the trade, because you can literally take it and then pretty much let it run to full TP or stop loss. If that's the case with, your type of trading, like even just looking at the chart right here. Let me see if there's anything. I probably wouldn't apply the intraday strategy if you're applying the 4 hour, because it's kind of on a higher time frame. So you'd have to change your trend meter to higher settings. And the problem with that is that the market doesn't trend for that long. So if you set it to like the hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, maybe 8 hour, you're not really going to find, very many trends here where there's going to be any entries for you. Like something like this, like you have like one entry in like how many weeks, where it actually matches. So I think for you, I think the K2sr strategy would work perfectly for your schedule, because it works perfectly for me too. And even though I'm not working like a normal 9 to 5, I'm still kind of on a schedule too, since I have all these sessions going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I have like the morning session too, so I don't really have time to really be on the chart and adjusting positions like every hour or every 30 minutes. So
You said the best one that would work for the 4 hour would be which one?
the K2sr zone trading strategy, this one right here. K2sr, yeah, this one right here. This is the strategy that I use for all the signals. So pretty much every signal that gets sent out for Forex is using this strategy on the 4 hour time frame, and it's been super accurate. And the thing is, what a lot of people do is they'll see me call a trade using this strategy, and then they'll have that range set up on their chart. And what they do is they go to the intraday strategy, and then they just trade within that range. So I'm not sure if you ever thought about doing that before.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I never thought about that, but like I agree, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because the thing is, since I'm calling that trade on the 4 hour time frame, we're anticipating that to hit full TP. So the thing is, once I have that range set up, you can literally trade within it. So like, let me see if there's one here, for example. Like I think GU has been running for a while. So we have GU right here. So I can pull it up on here. Yeah, we have GU right here. And then what a lot of people have been doing is they went like on the 30-minute, and they pretty much have just been taking, these trades right here. Like right here, we have a valid a buy entry, which was within this range, and they would take this and pretty much ride this like way up here, because the stop loss was down here for about 50 pips, and they pretty much rode this up here for a full TP for 50 pips. And then every time it happened again, like there was another entry right here, pretty much took another buy right here, and then rode it up here for like another 40-ish pips.
I see. I could trade with that. Okay.
Exactly. And then there's a ton of different entries here. Like you can apply that strategy, you can apply the momentum pullback strategy. If you tie everything together, there's a ton of entries that you can take within this full position. Like there's one entry right here, there's another momentum pullback entry right here, another one right here. There's just a whole bunch that you can pretty much pull out of the full move that I called. And especially if it's bouncing back and forth like this, there's like a ton of opportunities that you can take within that specific range that I already set up for you guys.
I like that. I definitely do like that. I think I'm gonna be able to apply that, and I would say, fortunate for me at my branch, my manager he trades stocks. Just because that's just what he's comfortable with because he came from TD Bank and he was an investor there. So we're always looking at the Dow, look at the SP. Our branch is in the what is our bank in? I think we're in Nasdaq. Last time I checked, we're in the SP, but now we're back in the Nasdaq. But we're always talking stocks, and he, what's the word I'm looking for? Even though we're not allowed to technically do it on our computers, he gives us full freedom to do so. As long as we don't have anybody, no customers in front of us and stuff like that. So I do have, like I said, the luxury to do that. But it'd be easier if I can do indexes, because like when I'm at work and I'm talking indexes, it's like, oh, okay, he's just working. He literally does not care. And even if I say, hey, this is personally for me, like, okay, whatever. As long as like, a client's not in front of me. So it's like when I was doing, my FTMO the first time and I was taking your Dow trades, I was like, oh, this is heaven. I'm literally like trading at work and I'm not gonna get in trouble. But
Exactly.
so I look at my regular account, like, oh, I can't take as many, because my balance is not as high. I don't want to blow everything.
Hmm.
So that was pretty much where I was stuck at.
Yeah, with the indexes, it's like a totally different beast. Like there's the only strategy that I really recommend for the indexes is either the daily strategy or the pivot strategy. Because the thing with indexes is that it literally bounces around like crazy, bro. Like I didn't even realize this was gonna hit full TP today. I don't know if you took the US 30 trade. Oh, this was another trade actually again. It actually hit another full TP. So we had the full TP for the US entry right here,
Mm-hmm.
and we also had another full TP if someone was to take the Asia entry right here as well. So I was just looking at this, but yeah, I wasn't even anticipating this to hit full TP, but the momentum was so strong that it just shot right up. And then there was another entry for the Asia session that hit full TP too. So I wish I would have taken this one, but I generally don't like to trade Asia session because it just gets way too risky.
Yeah, I mean that's what totally right now. It's like turtle shells for me because when I get home, I'm like, yeah, I can look at my computer all day and I'm interrupted. I'm like, yeah, it's age of session. Never mind. I'll just wait till London starts. But I gotta wake up early, so I can only be up till like probably like 1 a.m. if anything trading. That's still at the tail end of the age of session, so like nothing really goes on. Majority of the time, I'm really focused is like between 8 and 11 because 11 o'clock I go to lunch, and I notice a lot with the I mean, maybe you probably noticed too, staring at the Dow every now and then, but I know the Dow usually makes like two big movements throughout the day. It's usually like, the first one as soon as it opens up at like 6, and then another one between like 11 and 2 ish, you know? So I usually try to like make sure when I'm on lunch, I'm staring at the Dow around that time, see if I can catch, a couple points here and there. But I have two more questions before I have to take off really quick.
Oh yeah, no
So
problem. Let's go through them.
question number one was I think it was the next strategy on the list I was on. It was
Gotcha.
it
The
was
pivot strategy.
scalping. Yeah, let's talk about scalping, and then like on our next call we could talk about pivots. We'll do pivots heavily because I was curious about that one.
Okay,
And
perfect.
and then my second question is maybe you can answer out of order is what should be my strategy when it comes to passing that team out because like I said, they allow me to do the 25K, and I want to do that as soon as I can. But I want to make sure I have a good battle plan going up because my friend passed his, and he said what really helped him that he didn't notice is just good timing. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, because he did it around a time frame because he only trades London pairs. So he did it around a time frame where he went on FX Factory, I'm sorry, FOREX Factory, and he saw there's a lot of high impact news going on for I think it was July or June, one of them for London. And he's like, perfect. So I could just ride this out. He literally put in vacation time. And I did the same thing. He put in vacation time to trade for 2 weeks uninterrupted. And he passed it like flawlessly. And I was like, wow, that's really well thought out. So I was, in your opinion, you already have two accounts. What should be like, what are some key things that I need to always keep in mind when I start mine and while I'm doing it, like never to forget?
So me personally, the only trades I take on mine are the daily US 30 entries. And the reason I'm able to pass so easily is because the strategy has such a high win rate. Like literally I'll take every trade every day. And
Mhm.
if it hits full TP or if it hits stop loss, it's fine because I know it'll bounce back because I don't think we really have more than there's only been a few times, like maybe one or two times where we've had two back-to-back losses. And even at that point, there's still room for us to to pretty much keep on trading maybe like 3 or 4 times before you end up losing that 10K max. So for me personally, I would just recommend taking the daily US 30 entry. I would probably, because we went over this during the live trading room too, and we kind of did the math, and you could literally just hit TP1 every time because the win rate's so high. Let me see if we have it here. See the results, because we hit TP1 almost every time, and even if you just took that trade, you could let's see. Yeah, you could either let it run to full TP because they always end up balancing out. Like for last week, we had one that hit full TP and we had one that hit stop loss, so we just balanced each other out. It's just a break even. But the previous week we had like 3 wins and 1 loss, so they ended up in profit. You know, with regard to our entry, each trade is we have a risk or a profit of 2,250. So basically, we broke even last week, and then the week before that we had about 3 wins and 1 loss. So we even profit for 4,500, and then the week before that we had more wins as well. So it just keeps adding up. So I would probably recommend just taking the daily US 30 entry, and then you'd probably use a lot size of. So I use a 15 on mine, and I have 100K. Just divide that by 2. For a 50K, you use a 7.5, and then for a 25K, you probably use about a 3 lot size. And basically, if you're using a 3 lot size, you'll do like what was it? It's like 3, or it's not even 3. It's like 0.03, maybe even 30 cents times the full TP, which would be 1,500. You'll be risking about, I don't know if that number's right. Let me check real quick. 1.5 times. So, I think that's right. Do you know what the max loss is on a 250 or on your account on a 25K?
2,500.
A 2,500. That's the max loss.
Yeah, it's 1-to-1.
Okay, cool. So if you 450, so you need 2,500 to pass, right?
Yep.
Okay, so 2,500 divided by 450. So you only need 5 wins to pass, and you could pretty much rack that up, or you need about 6 wins, I guess. Yeah. So you would only need a few wins to pass, you know, in taking the daily US 30 entry. Let me see what the results are normally. Because you could literally just take it and let it run to full TP or stop loss. And for November, I don't know if you would have cut it during November because it was a slow month with, you know, elections, and we just sat out the market. You probably could have taken some trades because during elections week, there was like, I think 3 days that would have hit TP, but we didn't take it because we were being careful. But if
I saw.
Yeah, like they all hit and I regret it. I was like, man, we should have just traded it. But yeah, like exactly. But looking at like the other ones here, we generally have more than 5 wins for every month. So
I did that. Yeah. I noticed that around, like you just said, around like September, August-ish. I was like, when I looked at the win percentage or the accuracy, I was like, oh hell no! I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I missing these? Like, there was one point I was talking to a customer and I saw like, it was like buy stop US 30. It's like, oh, excuse me, I got to use the bathroom. Ran there, put it in, came back. Like, okay, yeah, like we were saying, yeah, I definitely don't want to miss out. Trust me, I already know how accurate it is. Basically, I just want to know like what lot size should I use? Also, when would I move my stop loss when it hits TP1, or even if I'm like 50 points in profit?
Yeah, so you would probably use a lot size between 3 and 5. I think that would be your 3 would be like the lowest because obviously you need to make enough profit to pass, and 5 would be your max. I think 5 would even be better. So if we do like 50 times, so you would risk 750 per trade. So like basically you need to make 2,500, divided by 750. You literally only need 3 wins to pass, and the win rate's so high where you can literally just take every trade, and then eventually you'll pretty much hit your goal within X amount, like within a week or 2, pretty much. I only said 3 lots to begin with because it's a little risky. You're not really there yet 100% because you need to get your confidence up. I feel like a lot of people need that before they start taking some bigger lot size. So what you could probably do is do like a trial FTMO and just get comfortable with just taking the trades with, you know, a 5 lot size and then just letting it run. Because I know once you start hitting TPs, you're going to be comfortable and you're not going to be scared to, you know, increase your lot size. Because you probably use between a 3 and 5. But if you're doing a challenge, then stick to that same lot size. Don't increase, don't decrease, because it's going to create an imbalance between your profit and risk, you know, with your wins and losses. And it's going to be harder for you to, you know, make a bounce back if you end up getting into a hole.
Oh yeah, my cousin did that, and I witnessed it, him getting greedy at the end, and he's like, "Yeah, let me just double what I was doing," and it just ate up all his profit, and he couldn't recover. It was terrible. So
Exactly.
yeah, I agree. I think I can hack that. But yeah, let's take a look at the which one we were saying a second ago. This strategy we were talking about was right under the.
I think it was a scalping strategy, right?
Yeah, scalping. Let's take a look at that before we wrap it up.
All right, cool. Do you know which one you want to look at? Is it the K2 pivots one or the other ones? Because the other ones they're all kind of different. So depending on which one you want to look at.
Let's look at the pivot one.
The pivot one? Okay, cool. So look at the pivot one right here. Yeah, is there a specific pair you want to look at? Maybe GJs, or which one's a pair that you like to scalp a lot? Is it like indice or is it like GJ or some?
I like scalping on. Let's see, I usually scalp on GJ. I don't know why I stay away from G. Honestly, the pairs that give me a heart attack is any Swiss pair and any New Zealand pair. I'm like, I don't know why.
Yeah, the Swiss pairs and the NZD pairs are probably the most tricky. So you'd probably want to keep away from those. Because the Swiss pairs just move a little weird because they're a safe haven currency, but they move a little stronger than the JPYs. You can see the JPYs kind of move they move pretty smooth for the most part. But if you look at the Swiss pairs, they're kind of all over the place. Like if you look at anything that's paired like odd CHF, it's like kind of all over the place, and you see a lot of wicks because it's a lot of uncertainty. Versus, you know, looking at the JPY pairs that move a lot smoother. So I guess we can look at like GJ. Basically, the way that the pivot strategy works is I generally like to trade it on the 10-minute. I know some people like to do it on the lower time frames as well, but me personally, I usually like to do it on the 10-minute. So let me see if I can just go to like a random area where there's like a couple entries over here. So we go ahead and like rewind it to like somewhere like this. And I'll put out the requirements right here. So it's the same requirements as the other pivot strategy, but you're just using it on the shorter time frame. And then the most important thing is really eliminating your risk, because if you're scalping, obviously you want to get in and out of the trade within, you know, X amount of time rather than trying to hit TP, because there's a lot more noise when you're like on the time frames that are lower than the 30-minute. Even the 30-minute has a lot of noise, but anything below that, you're going to find a lot of noise. You don't want to get caught in, you know, any of the reversals. So K2 pivots, scalping, 10-minute. So first, you just want to identify the trend using the K2 pivots. Second, you want to identify a valid K2 signal. Third, you want to identify a retracement. Fourth, you want to identify a rejection of K2 pivots area. And it seems like a lot of requirements, but in reality, it's really easy once you're able to identify things, you know, pretty quickly. So after that, you can enter on the open of the following candle. And this is the most tricky part for most people, because they don't know where to put their stop loss. Generally, if you're scalping, you want to get in and out of the trade pretty quick, and you want to trade with minimal risk. So you want to put your stop loss at the either previous swing or K2 pivots. Three or four. So it looks like a lot of requirements, but in reality, it's really not that much once you figure everything out. You can literally just look at the chart and you can identify if it's trending down, if it's trending up. But you know, just for explanation purposes, basically, when price is below the pivots are all angling in the same direction and they're spread out like they are right here. This is going to confirm a downtrend. Vice versa, over here you can see prices above the pivots are all angling up and they're spread out, so this would confirm an uptrend. So right here, just looking at where price currently is, We've already identified a downtrend because price is below the pivots, they're angling down and they're spread out. So the requirement number one has been met. The second requirement is to identify a valid K2 signal. So right here, obviously we have a sell signal and it has a red bearish candle within it. So that would be a valid sell signal right here. So the first two requirements have been met. For number three, you want to identify a retracement. So looking at this right here, you can see price initially came down pretty heavy and then it retraced from this point right here. So from this point, price rejected off this little zone right here. Then it retraced up to the K2 pivots way up here. And once that happens, so basically the way that this strategy works is we're trying to catch the momentum and then we're catching the little pullback where price comes down with momentum in the direction of the trend, it pulls back, then it rejects off one of the pivots, and then it comes right back down into a continuation of the trend. So that's basically how the strategy works. And our thought process is when identifying this entry. So first requirement's met, we identified the trend. Second requirement, we've identified a valid K2 signal right here. For third, we identified a retracement. The price came down right here, retraced from this point and shot on up. And fourth, we identified a rejection off the K2 pivots area, which is right here. And this can reject from here, anywhere within it, up to, somewhere slightly above it as well. As long as it's not like way up here where it's already reversed, then it still qualify as, a proper rejection. So right here, we've identified the trend, identified a valid K2 signal, identified the retracement right here, identified the rejection up here off the K2 pivots area. And then lastly, we identified a valid K2 signal right here. So once we've identified all of that, you can enter on the open of the falling candle, which would be right here. And your stop loss can be placed either at the previous swing, which would be right here for about 16 pips, or you can place it at the level 3 or the level 4 up here. I probably wouldn't put it up here because it's pretty far, 30 pips for a small scalp. And I would just leave it at the previous swing, which would be right here for about 17 pips. And then as it moves down, you can pretty much just let it run. And then you can see obviously hit full TP right there. And then you just pretty much repeat the cycle over and over again.
Okay.
So it's pretty simple. The problem with this though is that there's going to be a lot of fake outs if you're scalping. So you have to be really on point with your emotions and your basically your trade psychology. Because the thing is, when you're scalping, you're going to hit a lot of losses. You're going to hit a lot of losses and you're going to hit a lot of wins. The thing with scalping, it's more about volume. If you hit losses, then you just got to eat those losses. Like right here, you can see that there's another entry right here for a buy. Stop loss would be right here. You have to make sure to, because here's the thing, a lot of people, what they like to do is they'll see that this stop loss is only about 12 pips. But people get greedy. They want to move it down way down here for like 20 pips or 25 pips. But when you're scalping, like I mentioned, it's all about volume. So even though it's only 20 pips right here, if you set it to 12 pips, if you set it to 12 pips, you would have hit TP right here. If you got greedy and wanted to move your stop loss down here to like, was like 17 or 20 pips, this probably would have hit stop loss. Yeah, because it wouldn't have reached TP up here. So the thing with this strategy is that you just have to really understand that you have to be strictly on point with your requirements and not get greedy. Because when you're scalping, you're just locking in, profits here and there. And then like right here, we had another entry. This obviously would have hit stop loss. The swing would be here to be really tight, maybe like 7 pips. So this would have hit stop loss, but you would have made 12 pips on this one right here. So you made 12 pips, lost 7 pips. Probably wouldn't have taken these trades right here because once it starts crossing over a lot, so this is one thing with scalping too. You kind of have to understand how to read. Like these requirements are set here, but you kind of have to understand when price is probably going to go the opposite direction. So like right here, I personally wouldn't have taken this trade because it's not establishing higher highs anymore. You can see right here, it established a high right here, a low, a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And then you can see price is starting to come down right here, right? It's going lower. So it's not establishing higher highs anymore. So if that happens, I personally wouldn't take this trade. Some people might have taken it. I don't know if it would hit full TP or hit TP. Let me see, it'd be around here, about 6 pips. And the thing with scalping too is you're gonna have to have a good broker with a tight spread, because if you're going for 6 pips right here, you're gonna have to be able to get in and out of this trade before it reverses on you. So right there, it would have hit stop loss. And then right here, I also wouldn't take the same trade as well, because like I mentioned earlier, there's other factors that you factor in on top of these if you want to be more accurate. Obviously, this will work in the long run, because you can see right here that there's like a win right here, there's a win right here, there's a win right here, and then there's a loss here. So you'd have a couple wins here where you'll be able to anchor these losses, even if you were to take these small trades right here. So the thing with scalping is that it requires like real skill. You have to actually know what you're doing to scalp. And this is why I generally don't like to teach scalping to people unless they're experienced and they understand how to read the charts. Because like right here, even if you were to take these trades, they'd be smaller losses. But some people don't understand how to, eat these losses up. So what they do is they start to over leverage, and they end up, blowing their account because they're not understanding that they got to use proper lot sizes, because even though these right here would have lost, this was like a 12 pip win. This right here probably would have been a huge win. Or actually, we wouldn't have taken this trade, but we would have taken this one over here maybe. But you can see how like the market gets a little messy, right?
Yeah.
On the shorter time frame. So you kind of have to know what you're looking at when you're scalping, because you don't have time to really think. You have to think on your feet. So like right here, if you see prices and establishing higher highs, like right here, you can see price comes down, then you probably would have not taken any of these trades over here, and you would have waited for more higher highs to be established. Or you would have used other confirmations. Like specifically, I'd probably use the K2srs to identify the rejection points, because when you're scalping on the lower time frame, let me see if I turn this on right here. So like if I was to rewind this right here, you'd want to know where these rejection points are. So like right here, this probably could have been avoided if you were to go on a higher time frame and identify where the higher zones are. So right here, we don't have a higher zone on this time frame, but if you go on the 30-minute, so you would have identified that there's an actual zone right there.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different factors. So like right here, I probably wouldn't have taken this trade because it's right at that zone. But that's why I don't really teach scalping to people, because I know how to scalp because I know from experience. But like I can provide the framework of what I'm looking at. But in addition to that, there's a lot of other things that you have to add in when taking the trade, because there's a lot of other factors. There's like news, there's these structures here that you kind of have to identify. You also have to like look out for like higher highs, lower lows. So for scalping, I don't recommend doing it live unless you're like 100%, you feel comfortable with it, to identify where you shouldn't be trading and where you should be trading, if you get what I'm saying.
I'm officially retired off scalping. The only scalp that works for me is gold. That little system I got with gold is basically it's very much pivots basically. Yeah, I don't really scalp anymore. I've taken enough L scalping. I feel 10 times more comfortable intraday trading, and it does work well. Even swing trading, it works well for me. It doesn't come as fast as I wanted it, but I've grown to be happy with, closing out at the end of the day or in like 2 or 3 days later. As long as I know I'm in the green, I'm good. So I don't need to have anxiety staring at it.
Exactly, yeah. Because the thing with scalping too is like, if you look at the charts, you can see that there's a ton of entries that you could have won. Like you could have missed this whole like bullish move right here. And then once you get into where it doesn't end up hitting as often, you wouldn't be able to like balance it out. Like you literally have to be scalping every single day for you to keep your, your balance, because there's like wins right here, but then there's going to be like some losses right here. And then you need those wins to balance out. So you kind of need like a big account, because you need to eat those losses before you get to like the big wave where it actually keeps hitting back to back to back.
Yeah, I'd rather just like follow the trend and swing.
Exactly. Yeah. No, definitely. Like me personally, I used to scalp all the time, but it's just way too stressful, because you always think in the back of your mind, like, I got to be on the computer because I don't want to miss any trades, And then you get to a point where you're just like, man, I wish it was a lot easier, or I could just have like more time to myself, because it really stresses you out when you're watching the chart literally all day, like, 24 hours a day.
Very true. Very true. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do some back testing before I put the little one to bed and before I go to bed today. So you say the one that best fits is based off the work schedule, just be the swing, and even just some of the intraday trades will work out. Intraday strategies will work out too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you should probably focus on those. Um, I personally would always just recommend the K2sr strategy because I think that's probably the most profitable one, especially if you can't be at the computer all the time. Like obviously you could make way more money trading intraday, but if you can't adjust your stop loss and profit, consistently, you might start to get burned a bit, depending on, what you're trading. Because especially with how the market's been moving lately, it's really important that you move your stop loss and profit if you're trading on the lower time frames.
Okay, I'll just set more alerts in my trading view to do so.
Yeah, exactly. Or just keep practicing because the thing is, I'm sure you're aware, like the market moves in seasons. So we're entering the winter season, so the markets are going to get a little slower and they're going to get a lot more choppier as well.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to get a little messy from now until maybe late January, February. That's when we'll start to smoothen out. And then from February till like June, that's going to be like the hot time for us to make profit if you're going to be trading intraday. And then, so on from there. Summer it's going to get slow again. So the thing with the 4 hour is that it works all year round. It's like seasonal. It's not seasonal because it's on such a higher time frame that you'll be holding a trade for longer, but it's still going to be just as accurate as if you're trading in a different season. So that's why I always recommend to just trade the K2sr strategy, if you can trade it, because I understand that like a lot of people aren't at that level, or they can just set and forget it. A lot of people still want to be active within the trade. So just depending on what level you're at, you can go from like intraday and then slowly move your way up to higher time frames so that it works with your work schedule.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if I have to, because I could, well, not like I said, but in the beginning I was scalping, and then right after that I started doing swing trading a little more often. I started what strategy? He showed. I started using the Ichimoku cloud for a little bit, and it was actually probably like the most profitable thing I've ever done. Like that one was always on point. I think the only reason I steered away from the Ichimoku was just because it's like, man, sometimes it'll take days before I can close out. And I'm like, it'll just be annoying. And I feel like while I'm doing that, like my cousin's just raking in money like day by day by day. I'm like, what about me? Like, and he's doing this, and he's on the same pair as me, at times. And it was just like we were saying a second ago, because he's like, there's like trades within a trade that you're not, noticing. And I started switching to moving averages crosses, and then I like the MACD a lot, so I started just using that a lot. But I think the biggest game changer was just risk management and position sizing, and just staying away from being insecure, I guess you could say. Those are the two biggest factors.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're just gonna get more confident with practice. Like the more and more you practice the strategy that you like to apply, you can even use the K2 indicators with your MACD strategy. You could just, add those as extra confirmations. And that's what a lot of people in K2 do as well. Not everyone follows the K2 strategies. What they do is they have their own strategy and then they use the K2 indicators as, an extra confirmation. Like the K2sr levels are like one of the main things that people use. And then on top of that, they use the momentum indicator to, determine when to make entries. So
Oh,
so that's like something that you can implement into your own strategy as well. And I can help you with that too. Like maybe one time we can sit down and you can show me your strategy. And then from there, I can show you, different things that you could add to it to add confirmations and to just make it better. Because with every strategy, there's always going to be weak points. And, with me around, I've been trading for like 10 years. So I can show you how to close, the gaps on those weak points if there's some way that you like to trade specifically, because there's always a solution to trading. It's like a puzzle. Like you're just solving a new puzzle every single day.
okay.
Literally.
So I think that's exactly what I'm gonna do. On our next session, I'm gonna come up with my own. Well, first, before I come up with my own, let me master what we have here. So I want to master what I have here, and once I got that down pat, I want to at least get like at least know two of these like the back of my hand, and I can eyeball it, and say why things is gonna happen, because X, Y, and Z, blah blah. Once I do that, then I'll move on to changing the Rubik's cube a little bit. But I don't want to break something that doesn't. Sorry, I don't want to fix something that's not broken. So I'm just gonna back test and practice a lot more the K2sr like you were saying, the pivots. I really love the pullback. Like I really feel super duper comfortable with that. It's very, it's pretty much exactly what I do right now, but I never know how to get in on a reversal. But now that I explained that way and seeing how the indicators are used, I feel 100% comfortable with that. I think that may be my ace of my sleeve. So I want to practice the pullback, the K2 support and resistance, and then touch on the pivots a little bit, but primarily like those two.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. Yeah, because the thing with your MACD is you use the MACD to identify, the trend. And if you're identifying the trend on the MACD, you can use the K2 momentum indicator to, find the pullbacks, and then you pretty much just write it the same way you would have done if you were applying your own strategy.
Yes, love that. That sounds like music to my ears. All right, perfect. So we'll just follow up with those three things then next time. Appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Definitely, no problem. Yeah, we'll set up the next session soon, and then once you're ready, we can get back on.
Appreciate it. Later.
I definitely talk to